I think this is the best green screen pick I've had yet. Hi everybody and welcome to another exciting edition of Boring JavaScript. I'm your host, the Virtual White, aka Mike Smith, and today we're going to be talking about the nullish operator in JavaScript. Now the nullish operator was designed to solve a particular problem within JavaScript, and that was defining default values to variables. Now while it seems easy and while it worked, it did have a couple of problems. So what we're going to show you today is we're going to show you how we used to do it and how the nullish operator solved the problem. So are you ready? Let's get started. So let's first take a look on how we define default values in JavaScript the old way. I have a class here called animal, and within the constructor you would pass it a series of key value pairs, and in this case just two of them, one called name and one called age. So this is the way we used to do default values. It basically says if I do not specify a name, then I'm going to give it a default value of an empty string. If I do not specify a value for age, I'm going to give it a -1 value. And when we return the stats, we're basically saying that if the age is -1, we're declaring the animal is deceased. Otherwise, we're going to report the number of ages. So let's go to our code. I've got a cat named Fluffy here, in which I've set the name for Fluffy and the age of 2, and I've created the cat. And I've got a dog named Rover here, which has the name of Rover and an age of 0, and I've created the dog Rover. And here I'm printing out the cat stats and the dog stats. So what we should expect to happen here is that we have specified name and age for both the cat and the dog. So the cat should come up saying my cat stats is 2 years and my dog stats is 0 years, because we have 2 and 0 passed in to our two classes. You want to see how that works? Let's flip back over to Node and let's type in node or. And we have 2 and 0. No, we don't. What happened here? We have 2 years and deceased. Well, deceased means -1. That means that age was assigned to -1 for Rover, but that's not correct. If we go back to our code, we have an age of 0. So what happened? Well, what happened is the reason that nullish operator was created in the first place. In reality, what we do when we use the OR operator here is we basically say that if this particular variable is a truthy value, something inside of it, then use that value. Otherwise, if it's a falsy value, then pass back a -1. Now we specified age for our cat to be 2. 2 is a truthy value. But for Rover, the dog, 0 is a falsy value. Just like blank blank or a completely empty string is also a falsy value. So when JavaScript got to this section here, it said, okay, age, what's your age? My age is 0. Oh, 0 is a falsy value, so we can ignore age and we have to assign it a -1. So that's one of the problems you had with using the OR statement to assign, or the OR operator, excuse me, to assign default values to variables, is that if you happen to pass a variable that was a falsy value, you're not going to get back what you expect. So the nullish operator was created to be able to solve this problem, and let's take a look at that next. So now let's take a look at the nullish operator. Here is my code. It is exactly the same as it was before with 2 exceptions. That's line 7 and line 8. Instead of using the OR operator, I am now using the nullish operator. The nullish operator is 2 question marks instead of the 2 pipe symbols that we had for the OR. And what does it do? It basically tests the variable to the left of the operator, the nullish operator, and says, is that variable null or undefined? If it is, then it continues processing, and in this case returns a -1 for the age, or a empty string for the name. If the variable is not null or is not undefined, it just returns it as is. And that's what makes it different from the OR operators. The OR operator tests whether it's truthy or falsy. And as we found out earlier, if it's falsy, you're going to get something back that you weren't expecting. But in this case, we only test for null and we only test for undefined. So Fluffy's not going to change, but Rover with an age of 0, when it creates the new animal, it's going to then go to line 8, says, okay, age, are you null or undefined? And age is going to say, nope, I'm actually number 0. And the constructor say, oh, okay, so this age is now 0, which means that Fluffy will still come out to be 2 years. Rover should now come out to be 0 years. Still a puppy. Let's take a quick look at that. Let's go over to Node and type in Node nullish. Yes, there we go. Fluffy is now 2 years and Rover is now 0 years. So how do we know this works? Well, let's flip back over to our code and let's force an undefined. And to force an undefined, I'm going to go to line 22 and I am going to take out the age argument, which basically now means is I'm only passing the name argument. And so when it gets to line 6 here, it's going to assign name, in this case to Rover, but it's going to assign undefined to age because it's undefined. So now when it gets to line number 8, it's going to say, okay, age, are you undefined or null? And age is going to say, yes, I am undefined. Therefore, we're going to pass a -1. And since we have a -1, we know it's going to print out the name deceased. So let's now flip back over to Node. And let's take a look at that. Let's go to clear the screen, go to nullish, and Rover is dead. It sounds horrible. Rover is deceased because it is a -1. So we know it works for undefined. Does it work with null? Well, of course it does. I mean, why would they call it nullish operator if it didn't? So what we're going to do here is we're going to force age to be a null value. Real simple. So now age is going to come in as null. So when it gets to line 8 here, age, are you null or undefined? Age is going to say yes. And say, okay, so you're going to be given a value of -1. So let's check it out real quick. Let's go back over to null. Let's go back over to Node. And yep, Rover still got the -1. So the nullish operator is absolutely wonderful in getting better control of setting the default values. And you won't fall into the trap of setting a default value that may be falsy when you're using the OR operator. So now that the nullish operator is available on a lot of browsers and available in Node, go ahead and start using that instead of using the OR operator. I guarantee you your code is going to be much cleaner than it ever has been. And that's all there is to the nullish operator. I hope you enjoyed our video. Hope it didn't bore you to death. Please visit all of our videos at www.boringjavascript.com. Subscribe to our YouTube channel or check out everything we have at www.thevirtualoid.com. Thanks again for watching and we'll see you later.